Hello everyone. I hope that you are enjoying the event so far. My name is Ayoze Hernandez. I'm lead engineer at ThoughtWorks, and I would like to share today my experience working on the platform space, and in this particular case, why I consider that we should be thinking more about being a platform opposite to just build a platform. And this is coming from my last experience working on a team where we need to define and create and build a platform. But for that, I would like to start revisiting what a platform is. And in this particular case, I would like to use a more traditional point of view. And for that, what I'm going to use is Cambridge Dictionary. Here we can see two definitions coming from the Cambridge Dictionary. Probably you are going to be quite familiar with both of them. But I would like to do a quick exercise with all of you. Picking the first one, the platform in the train station, basically. I would like to do a visualization exercise, right? So spend a few seconds, read the definition, and trying to visualize what this is telling you, right? What is going to happen probably is that it's going to be very easy to see, and you're going to be thinking about the train station maybe that you use every day or the ones that you use over the weekend. But it's going to be something that is going to be easy to you. And potentially, if we try to see and compare the visualizations of all of us, we are going to see that more or less they are going to be similar. And even though there are obviously differences, we are going to potentially all agree that, yeah, this is a platform, and the purpose of the platform in this case is in the train station, right? What happens if we remove part of this definition? So if we put the focus only on the solution, on the tangible thing, we can see how if we repeat the same exercise, is more challenging, right? So spend again a few seconds trying to visualize, in this case, a long, flat trace structure. Are you going to see that this first more complicated to visualize that? And then at the same time, if we try to put all this and compare the visualizations of all of us, potentially we're not going to come up with an agreement on what we are talking about or what this is telling us, right? So what we are seeing here is that the definition of the platform is not just the solution. So there are aspects beyond that you need to take into consideration. And when you are talking about the engineering platform, it's going to be the same. It's not just about building the platform, but you need to think about other aspects to be able to define your platform. So we follow this train of thoughts. In my case, I was trying to find a way to help me as well to come up with something that could support the definition of the platform that we need to build. And following these two definitions, I saw that there are some kind of common elements. And this is something that I was trying to figure out, to see what kind of things we needed to talk about and what kind of things we needed to define. So we were able to define our platform, our engineering platform. And if you can see here, we have a solution at the beginning, then we have some kind of context, that is where the platform is built in this case. Then we have some actors, some personas that are going to use the platform, and then we have some kind of outcomes, right? Something that you are going to do with the platform to achieve something. So if we put this together and we try to create a quick formula to be able to reuse it, we can see how a solution basically is going to be defined for a number of elements, in this case, context, personas, and outcomes. So at this point, I was quite happy. I was like, this is something that potentially I can put in practice in the team. But I wanted to be sure that this is something that makes sense. So I just put it to test, right? Following the definition of the train station or the platform in the train station, I started to play with the elements of the right side of the formula, and I was able to see how the solution was changing, right? Which makes sense. This is a small twist, but if we change more elements, we can see how changing this context or outcomes in this specific case, the solution is changing. And if we change all the elements of the original definition, we can see how the solution is totally different to the initial visualization exercise that we did. The platform is nothing that we can compare with. So this was some good stuff. So I was even happier because I put this to test and I saw that, okay, this is working. This is something that I can use to define our engineering platform. But at this point, I didn't feel 100% comfortable with the fact that this was starting with the solution, because when you go to a room full of engineers, what is going to happen is that you are going potentially to start to talk about the solution and forget about the rest. So I wanted to find a way to drive the conversation in a way that was supporting the fact that the solution is defined by the context, personas, and outcome, is defined by other elements, right? And I remember this well-known framework, the Golden Circle from Simon Sinek. If you're not familiar with it, it's a framework that helps basically to understand why we do what we do. In this specific case, why we are building the engineering platforms in the first place. It's a really easy framework where you basically ask yourself 3 questions: why you are building what you are building in this case, how you are going to build in it, and what you are going to build, right? It sounds easy. Sounds easier than really is in the practice. But hopefully with this talk, you're going to see how we can define this platform using this framework. But I would like to highlight the fact that the important really bit here is that you should start with the why. So even though you have the 3 questions here, you should always follow a specific pattern, and you need to start with the why, then jump to the how, and finally talk about the what. So why are you building the platform is going to drive the rest of the conversation. So at this point, I try to apply the Golden Circle to this formula that we have just created. And I was seeing how exactly I was starting with the what. So that was some kind of smell, right? So I decided to change this to follow more the pattern of the conversation of the Golden Circle, where we can start with the why. In this specific case, we can see how context, personas, and outcome. I'm saying that is the why. That kind of makes sense from my point of view. Then the how, that is how we are going to translate that why to something tangible, that are our practices and things. And then the solution, that is the tangible thing that our users are going to use. So at this point, I was even happier than before, because now I have a formula that I can use to drive the conversation in the direction that I wanted, that is putting the focus on why we wanted to build the engineering platform in the first place, opposite to what we are going to build. So now, how can I define the elements? I'm still at this point where I have the formula, great, but how I can define this different why, how, and what. And this is where I try to see what kind of things we were able to put in practice to define each of these elements. And I realized that everyone is going to have different whys. So for example, your why could be supporting the growth of your organization. Your why could be reduce the time to deliver. Or your why could be just give some capability to the rest of the organization. So you want to enable to others access to the general engineering practices, for example, right? But how I can define this? So aspect that I took into consideration and really helped me to define this why and define the context, personas, and outcomes were thinking about these different aspects that you can see in the slide. I would like to highlight 2 that I found especially useful. The first one was thinking about the business goals and what the business wants to achieve. Are you growing? Are you reducing costs? Are you trying to optimize to avoid the cost? So all these kind of things are going to really help you to define the platform and achieve the buy-in from the organization, because the platform is something that you are going to put in place in the organization to work with it, and it's not totally isolated. Something that I would like to highlight as well is the customer personas. So we all know that the engineering platform at the end of the day is going to be used by developers. But as I said a few seconds ago, the engineering platform is not just for developers in the organization context. So there are potentially more stakeholders that are going to be interested on the engineering platform, and they can use it. For example, security. So you can support to the security people to put in practice security gateways on the path to production. Or you can think about finance, or you can think about compliance. So there are multiple stakeholders in your organization that if you are able to create the relationship with them and explain how the engineering platform can support their work as well, you're going to see how the organization is going to be more aligned to see the benefit of this, because it's not just an engineering platform to deploy services to production, right? It's something that you're going to put in the organization to enable the organization using technology to achieve their goals. The last one will be the outcomes. Here, at this point, you potentially are going to see how you're going to have different whys. What I mean by that is that the outcome from a security people is going to be potentially different to the outcome from someone from compliance. So you might have some kind of different outcomes that you want to achieve. You can call it requirements if you want, but the idea is that you have different point of view, so you have a good understanding of what the engineering platform should be aiming to provide to satisfy to all the different customers of your engineering platform. Here on the right, you can see an example of a link value tree. We use this in the team. It was quite useful because this really helped us to align our initiative, our assumptions with the goals of the organization and be sure that we were aligned with that. So we were always driving the conversation in a way that was aligned with our why. Once we have the why, now we need to think about how we are going to translate that to something tangible. So you can think about practices customer needs. you want to think that potentially is security required? What grade of security? You want to evolve. You want to ensure that you can evolve the platform and keep it up to date with the business. So here we have different practices that you can put, you can use in this specific case. Basically, there are a lot of things out there, things that worked very well for us while thinking about platform as a product and different techniques. This is a big topic at the moment, but we put in practice, for example, thinking about our innovators, thinking about feedback loops and communication. We saw real good progress there when we put this in practice. Then other thing that we put in practice was incremental changes, not just from the operational point of view, but as well from the delivering point of view. So we were always thinking about how we can bring changes to the organization in small increments to test, verify, and have feedback from the organization. That was something that really worked for us. And in fact, I think that it helped to achieve buy-in from other people because they were able to see quickly with proof of concepts and MVPs how this could support their work as well. So at this point, it's practically done. So now you just need to think about the what. So you might need to think about golden path, integrations within different services, or even dashboards, right? So there are different things that you might need to put in your engineering platform. So aspects that you can consider here. Golden path, as I mentioned, infrastructure, documentation, APIs. Something that I would like to highlight here is that you potentially don't need everything from the beginning. So something that we really struggled was to be sure that we were constantly aligning what we were trying to build with our why and our how, because it's easily go there and try to put in the engineering platform the last technology, the last 10. So it's something that you want to be sure that somehow you are not just falling into the trap. And maybe you don't need a developer portal at the beginning. You just maybe need a really good documentation. So it depends on your context. It depends on your why. That is why it's important to be sure that in this phase you are constantly aligning all your decisions and reevaluating your mindset with yourself, saying, is this really the best decision for achieve our why? The other day I came across this quote. I think it was a really good way of summarizing this. So there is no sense in talking about the solution before we agree on the problem, and nonsense talking about the implementation steps before we agree on the solution. So it's the golden circle apply in the tech space. So remember this. I think that is a really good quote, and it's a really good way to be sure that whatever you are building is helping the organization. But before that, still, what is being a platform? So coming back to the definitions that we saw at the beginning, if we take a look to both of them are focused on supporting, enable others, or help people, right? So even though you are starting with a why, be sure that you're using words that are focused on help people and support others, because it's really what you want to do. You want to provide this to other customers or other personas in the organization. So because of that, enable others being a platform. Don't just build a platform. Thank you, and see you in PlatformCon London.